Hello, folks. I'm Andre Safar. Welcome to a special debate segment of Ames Tonight. As you see, I have some of my Ames Tonight correspondents here. We're going to be talking about a fierce contest here tonight. We're going to be talking about a highly anticipated division that has created somewhat of a rivalry in the Marvel Universe. Now, May 6th, these two sides of the rivalry will clash in the new blockbuster, Captain America Civil War. Now, here with me for tonight's debate, we have Jared Common Man Calvert, who will be representing Tony Stark, a.k.a. Iron Man. And over here we have Annie Harmon. She is political correspondent and Ladies Lounge star on Ames Tonight. She'll be representing Steve Rogers, a.k.a. Captain America. Thank you for joining me, guys. Now, last week's show, you, Common Man, you gave us a build-up to the movie and such, and what we need to know as far as background. So we're just going to dive right into it. I'll start with you. Give me Tony Stark, a.k.a. Iron Man, his mentality, his ideology, or ideological beliefs, if you will.
Yeah, so basically, just to kind of give a brief description again of what this movie is going to be centered around, you could say, is it's going to be centered around superhero oversight by the government. A couple of events happen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that cause collateral damage, and this just kind of adds on to the amount of collateral damage that has been happening throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe throughout the past 12 Marvel films. So this is going to be talking about, should superheroes be oversighted? Should someone oversee their actions? And so Tony Stark, at this point, he's feeling pretty guilty about creating Ultron and almost destroying the world with his evil robot that he created with good intentions. So with that, he is for oversight of superheroes because he realizes that, if the actions of a few aren't regulated, they could have good intentions for what they do, but they could still cause damage to others. And this is kind of really critical in focus, and there isn't a better time that this issue couldn't have been brought up, especially with this season's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Mm-hmm. When you bring it up, Inhumans has become very popular it's become very important within Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., especially in Season 3. Superpowered beings are occurring everywhere in the world. They are rising, especially this season in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's important to realize, not all superpowered people have good intentions. So it's important that, we oversee the actions of superhero people so that even when they have good intentions, they don't cause something that could, be devastating.
Right, yeah, some of the worst things can be created with the best intentions, as you were saying. So, Ms. Harmon, if you would please, let's hear Steve Rogers, a.k.a. Captain America's ideology, his mentality. Hit it.
Well, Captain America, of course, on Team Freedom, because he is Captain America and he's fought for the military, and his goal always is freedom, to stand up against the bullies, the bad guys. He never wants to really kill people, he just wants to stand up against bullies. And Cap's mentality is pretty much always good, because as Abraham Erskine, the guy who injected him with the super soldier serum, said, the serum amplifies everything that is inside, so good becomes great and bad becomes worse. This is why you were chosen, because the strong man who knows power all his life may lose respect for that power, but a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion. So this is pretty much saying that Captain America's goodness before, when he was a skinny Steve Rogers, is amplified since he had been in contact with the serum. So Cap's intentions are always good, and is always for the betterment of the people, but he wants freedom.
Okay, I want to ask, and a little off, so some people will take sides due to the attitudes of said characters. Tony Stark's seen maybe as more, I don't want to say pompous, but maybe more arrogant. What do you have to say to that?
Yeah, and Tony Stark he's cocky, I'll say that, right? He is cocky. That's kind of been his personality throughout the entire cinematic universe and throughout the entire comics. And so no, it's apparent that he is cocky, but deep down, he believes in protecting this Earth, and he believes, especially since the first Iron Man movie, when he came back from Afghanistan, when he escaped from that cave, he said, I saw young men being killed by the weapons that I had created to destroy them, and I had become comfortable with a system of zero accountability. And so that's what he's really pushing for in here. So he may seem cocky, he may seem arrogant, but this is an issue that I think we're going to really see him grounded on, because he wants people to be held accountable for their actions, including the Avengers. And so yeah, I mean, the easy choice for a lot of people would be to root for Captain America because he's noble. He has the best intentions. Like Annie said, he has good intentions. But also, like you said earlier, and like the old quote goes, sometimes the worst things happen with the best intentions.
Right.
So, I mean, it doesn't matter if your intentions are pure or good. That doesn't always make your decisions right. And just because Tony Stark may seem a little cocky doesn't mean his intentions are always wrong.
Sure.
Can I offer a rebuttal?
Please. This is the purpose of a debate.
Well, I just want to say that Tony Stark's intentions and his cockiness hasn't really been going away. Iron Man 3, anyone? His arrogance and cockiness literally creates a supervillain from one guy that he was mean to one night in the 90s. So if he did that to one guy, just think of all the other people that he could have messed with.
True. Sure.
He is a cocky guy.
You guys have mentioned, and you've mentioned the movies. Let's dive in. Captain America movies and Iron Man movies, the franchises. Annie, I'll start with you. Discuss the Captain America movie franchise. How strong compared to Iron Man's movies? Hit it. What do you got on that?
Well, I think first of all we need to realize that technology in movie making has definitely increased between the first and the last of the installments of both movie franchises,
Absolutely.
Iron Man and Captain America. So without thinking about truly the movie aspect of it, the fact that the special effects have gotten better, I guess I'll give 1 point to Iron Man in that. Well, the first Iron Man was very, very, very well received, while the first Captain America wasn't as well received. But the second Captain America, was absolutely crucial in setting up pretty much every other movie that has continued on since then. And they did a really, really great job with Captain America 2 and the Hydra installment. But that's pretty much what I've got on that.
Okay. You want to offer the...
Yeah, and this will kind of help be my response to Annie's comments earlier on Iron Man 3.
Sure.
So first off, we'll start with Iron Man 1. So as a whole, Iron Man was the film that started it all. It was a great film. We saw kind of...
Hey, technically
the
Hulk
first-
was.
What?
Technically Hulk was.
The Incredible Hulk?
It was
The
the first
Incredible Hulk
one.
it came afterwards.
No, it was the first one.
We'll have to do
Check
some
the
fact
dates.
checking.
All right, we'll check the dates on that. But either way, though,
it is a
either way,
benchmark.
and even if the Hulk, and I could be wrong on that, but even if it was, technically in the storyline, Iron Man came first because at the end of the Incredible Hulk, Tony Stark came in and he had that talk with General Ross about putting together a team. So technically, Iron Man was the movie that kicked it off because it started off the whole thing. Samuel L. Jackson came in at the post-credit scene, said, "I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative." So Iron Man's kind of the starter story of it all. The Incredible Hulk was one of those movies that it kind of proved that remakes can happen after 2003's Hulk. But either way, no, it's the story that kind of kicked off the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It got fans excited about that. And while the second Iron Man, a lot of critics consider it to be the worst film of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I liked it because we did get to see, like I said in last week's preview, that we got to see some Avengers such as Black Widow, and we got to see Don Cheadle fill out the War Machine suit. But it also kind of showed some struggles of Tony Stark dealing with pressures, such as alcoholism and the fear of dying and trying to, wildly contain his emotions while he's on his deathbed and trying to figure out how does he get out of this situation. So Iron Man 2 might not have been the greatest film, but Iron Man 3, a lot of people may not have liked it as much, but I thought it was a crucial film. This is the film that goes after the Avengers. It shows, hey, what are these people doing after they, team up and have superhero buddies? Like, why don't they just invite superhero people? Why don't they just invite the Avengers to solve every villain, defeat every villain? So this film shows how are the Avengers doing after the events of New York, and, Tony Stark really makes it personable. He kind of sacrificed the most in this mission. He was the one that blew up the aliens in the sky. He sent that nuclear missile into there, and so he laid a lot on the line. So he's pretty shaken after the events of the Avengers, and so that's what kind of drives him into this mode of, hey, I'm kind of worried about another alien invasion coming up, so I need to make sure that I'm doing everything I can. So that's what drives him to make more suits. Unfortunately, a demon from his past shows up, and that happens, but he deals with it. And the great thing about this movie is it shows how he's dealing with that stress and how he overcomes the stress that he felt from the Avengers.
Sure.
And yes, while Captain America: The Winter Soldier, that was a great film. You can't deny that it was you can't say it was a bad film. The only point that I will say on this, and this might be a little bit jabby, but the biggest thing I think that impressed me about the Winter Soldier was that it wasn't Captain America's performance, and it was the fact that Marvel Cinematic Universe, they were able to shake up their entire structure of the Cinematic Universe. S.H.I.E.L.D. has been the backbone of the Cinematic Universe since Phase 1. And the fact that they have kind of a plot twist in there that kind of destructures them, that's what made me the most fascinated about it. Of course, yeah, Captain has tie-ins to that default, having, you know, it being infiltrated by Hydra, having S.H.I.E.L.D. being infiltrated by Hydra. But the main focus, or the main thing that really kind of wowed me, was not the fact that, you know, Captain America was in it. It was great that he helped stop this infiltration and that he kind of helped shed light on this problem. But the main thing that really shook me was the fact that Marvel was bold enough to kind of deconstruct S.H.I.E.L.D. from their Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after that was really great to see how they kind of restructured and kind of changed forms after Captain America Winter Soldier.
So you mentioned some other characters. I want to go into right now Team Cap and Team Iron Man. Annie, who is on Team Cap?
Well, on Team Captain America, we got Hawkeye, which, as you know, is our arrowed friend. We've got Sharon Carter, who's the daughter of Peggy Carter, who we found as Agent 13 in Captain America 2. This is also kind of interesting because Cap really hasn't had a love interest for any of the movies yet, pretty much because after the first one, his love interest has already been dead.
Right.
Or has some dementia.
Yeah.
Also on Team Cap is Falcon, who's pretty much his best friend right now, kind of his new Bucky after Bucky went all Winter Soldier brainwashing. But I mean, Falcon's gonna stick by his side. We got Bucky, we got the Winter Soldier. He's a little bit of a wild card just because of the brainwashing. We don't exactly know what his mental state is gonna be like because we
Maybe
did
a
see
loose cannon, if you will.
Well, at the end of Ant-Man, we saw Cap and Falcon putting Bucky's arm in a little bit of a vice to like keep him still. So we don't really know exactly where his brain is. We've got Ant-Man, who, I mean, obviously he's going to be on Team Freedom. I mean, the government locked him up for being a vigilante, a social justice warrior. So of course he's going to be anti-government. And then we got Scarlet Witch. She pretty much hates anything made by Iron Man or Stark Tech. So that's her. But she's kind of very interesting because she and Vision being on Iron Man's team, they both share their power coming from the Infinity Stone, the Mind Infinity Stone. So it's kind of an interesting correlation that there's an Infinity Stone warrior on each side. There's a Black Widow and Hawkeye they even each other out, you know.
Sure.
War Machine and Hawkeye kind of even each other out. And we got, you know, Black Panther and Falcon kind of even each other out. So it's been kind of interesting to see how each one is evened out because there's powers on both sides, but there's also very highly skilled warriors on each side.
Right. So she mentioned some of the Team Iron Man.
Yes.
For you, who's the most important on Team Iron Man?
Well, the thing about Team Iron Man is it doesn't have numbers, so it doesn't have as many people. It has one less person than Cap. But the thing about Team Iron Man is it's got the heavy hitters. You look at Captain America, and I mean, you've got 3 people that are soldiers. All right, you've got Captain America, Falcon, and of course Bucky. All right, so Winter Soldier. So we've got some people that, you know, they're military trained, but I mean, you look at Iron Man's side, and you've got Iron Man, who's got the firepower of his Iron Man suit and his own intelligence. Let's not dismiss the fact that Tony Stark is a very intelligent man.
Sure.
And then we also have War Machine on that side too, which is the military version of Iron Man, played by Don Cheadle, and James Rhodes in the movie is the man behind the suit. And so what he kind of brings this second sense of, you know, the government, he's on the government side. He grew up in the military, and so, you know, he is for controlling things that are getting out of control. And so that's what's really going to be crucial for him in this part, is he's going to follow his buddy, but he also believes that, you know, superpowered beings, we need to make sure that they're on the side of justice and then they're not causing chaos. So moving on from that, we also have Black Panther, which is an interesting pick for Team Iron Man. And if you see some of the trailers, he's chasing Bucky down. So he doesn't like what Bucky has to do. Doesn't like what Winter Soldier has to do with anything. So it's interesting to see why he's going to be present. I'm going to assume that when I'm reading online and stuff that Winter Soldier did something to provoke him, and that's why he's going after him. But the fact that you have Black Panther on your side, he's kind of a well-known, he's a well-known leader of the country of Wakanda, the Kingdom of Wakanda, and so the fact that he's on Team Iron Man's side really speaks for Team Iron Man's cause in, you know, making sure that everyone's held accountable. Superpowered beings are held accountable. And going on that note, we have Black Widow, super spy. The fact that she is on Team Iron Man, and this one is a little bit of a wild card because if you read things online too, they're thinking that she might be like a double agent on both sides.
Right.
But saying that she's on Team Iron Man, though, putting that into perspective, that's got to be a lot because she has closer ties to Captain America than Iron Man. You can't deny that.
Interesting choice to.
Yeah. So the fact that she believes in the same things that Iron Man believes in, and this whole accountability, I keep saying it over and over again, but you know, if you've got superpowers, you know, you kind of are responsible for doing the right thing and not causing chaos and devastation, or else it'll be frowned upon. So that's good that Black Widow is in there. And then finally we have the Vision. And so that's also an interesting pairing. Obviously Tony Stark created Vision, but it's interesting that he's kind of seen as this objective being when you see him in Avengers Age of Ultron. He's this new being. He's just, I'm on the side of life. And so the fact that he's choosing Team Iron Man as well, it really stacks up Iron Man. Team Cap has a lot of soldiers. You can't deny that. It's got a lot of soldiers, but as far as superpower heavy hitters, it's all Team Iron Man.
Quantity and quality here.
That's
we do
right.
need to talk about one wild card.
And I was going to bring it up, please.
That wild card is Spider-Man.
What do we have to say? Annie, you wanna comment on Spider-Man?
Well, I mean, pretty much all we know right now is that he was glimpsed for about like 4 seconds in one of the trailers, and we know that he's a teenager, so he might not have the exact mental experience that the rest of them have right now. So that's kind of an interesting thing that we need to kind of remember is that Spider-Man is in here too.
Somewhere in the mix, and wherever he's going to end up.
Another thing to mention though is that also in the trailers we see that Black Panther has a bulletproof suit.
Yes, that is the vibranium.
Yep, just like Cap's shield.
Yes, just like Cap's shield. So, thing is, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But no, going back to Spider-Man, it will be interesting to see how things go because in the comics he originally sided with Team Cap, or no, not Team Cap, Team Iron Man. Switched to Team Cap by the end, but from a lot of the buzz going around here, and especially when you look at that trailer, it looks like he's on the side of Team Iron Man in this case. Web slinging Cap shield right from out under him.
Right.
So vibranium's a powerful thing, but you got to watch out for those spider webs.
Absolutely. So real quick, last points here. We're going to get down to the people themselves, the heroes themselves. Physical attributes and weaknesses, strengths, weaknesses. Annie, Team Cap.
Okay, well I've got a couple things to say about this. Okay. Number 1, Tony Stark's getting old. Robert Downey Jr., he's getting old. But, that Chris Evans, he's still looking pretty good.
Still a young buck, huh?
He is a beautiful, beautiful man. He is a beautiful man. Another thing I want to mention is that this movie is titled Captain America Civil War, not Iron Man Civil War. This is Cap's movie still. This isn't Iron Man's movie. This is not Iron Man 4. This is Captain America's movie. So we got to remember that that's probably what is going to happen, is that we're going to have Cap win. I think Cap's going to win because it's Cap's movie. Why wouldn't he win? It's his movie. It's his 3rd movie. I mean, I don't really understand where the question is.
Maybe there's the unsuspecting twist there too, but that's devil's advocate, of course. What else do you have?
All right. Well, I mean, I also want to talk about the fact that Scarlett Johansson, not Scarlet Witch, but Black Widow is pretty much on the side of Hulk. She's not on either side. I wouldn't think she's on either side. She's on Hulk's side. She's probably going to try to find Hulk because he's still up there in that airplane somewhere.
That's right.
That's another thing I wanted to mention.
Maybe he swam to Fiji. He maybe
swam to Fiji. She'd find him in Fiji.
Come
on, she'd find him.
Unless he's David Banner.
We'll see if she investigates that last tidbit at the end of Avengers Age of Ultron.
I think the last thing that I really want to point out is that in the comics, Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, after Captain America dies in the comics, does take the shield and become Captain America. And I think this is something that we really need to think about because if for some reason Cap would die in this movie, then Winter Soldier would become the next Captain America, which he does in the comic books.
But Captain America's going to win.
I'm saying if for some reason he dies. Now, another thing, foreshadowing in Captain America 2, Winter Soldier does hold Cap's shield. And it is a big foreshadowing moment when he holds the shield and hides behind it, because it's literally foreshadowing his becoming Captain America.
That is an important thing to take into account.
Iron Man's weaknesses.
Yeah, so
strengths.
sticking with the individuals, Iron Man and Captain America themselves, you know, we've talked about those other things. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Iron Man versus Captain America. Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is getting old. He's looking really well for 50, all right?
Sure,
Robert Downey
yeah.
Jr., he is looking really well for 50. But no, you know, you look at Chris Evans' bicep size compared to Robert Downey Jr.'s, it's bigger. But
incomparable, yeah.
the thing about Tony Stark is that while Chris Evans has his muscles and while he has his little formula given to him by Erskine and who assisted in the process, oh yeah, I think it was Tony's dad, Howard. So while he has that going for him, Tony's a smart man, all right? He's not a dumb guy. So
Cap's not dumb.
Cap's not dumb either, but he's got the military stuff on his side. But you know, let's compare GPAs here. Who would have a GPA higher here? I'd say Tony Stark.
But okay, he takes off the suit. Stark takes off the suit. Cap's gonna win.
Let's recap to Avengers 1. I think we see this in the first trailer when it comes out. It's like, take off that suit of armor. What are you? Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. That first part, genius, is a good part. And that's why we can also go back to Iron Man 3, because in Iron Man 3, he basically doesn't have his suit for a lot of the film.
Sure.
There's parts where he's got, you know, Mark 42 coming in and kind of doing some patchwork on some things in the movie. But he still has gadgets. And why? Because he is smart enough to create gadgets out of anything. You see him go to the, what did he go to, the Home Depot, and he got a bunch of things that infiltrate a house of how many people and take them down. So no, you take away Iron Man's suit. You take away that. At the end of Iron Man 3, oh, great quote. You can take away my suit. You can take away my toys. But one thing you can never change is I am Iron Man. So Tony Stark is smart enough to hold his own. So while people may argue, oh no, he's just good because he has a suit. No, he has the suit because he's Tony Stark and create it and make it great. And so I think that needs to be taken into account.
Annie, do you want to have a rebuttal before we take off here?
I just have one thing for you, America. Are you Team Freedom or are you Team Regulations?
Oh, you're really diving into the emotions there. Well, guys, great debate. I love it. Excited to see that movie. It's coming out May 6th. That is our special debate segment of Ames Tonight. Thank you for joining us. We will head back to the show.